April 14. 2025 812 a.m. Dunkin' on Maple Street by the DMV. I ordered a medium coffee and a bacon. Egg, cheese. The receipt said $6. Tisherba. The sky looked like a faded t-shirt. A mom wiped jelly off a toddler's face with a napkin in her sleeve. It smelled like burnt sugar and fryer oil. Home. If home means muscle memory. I hadn't been back in 10 years. I told myself it was for business. It was also for a ghost with a blue collar. My name's Hannah. I'm 29. My dad is Michael. My mom is Karen. My brother is Jason, the golden child. My dog was Blue. I ate in the car. Nose to nose with a dented Civic. A man returned his coffee because they used sugar instead of Splenda. He wasn't mad. Just tired. I know that feeling. You don't explode. You make a note. The first injustice was small. It always is. 17. Junior year. After my Kroger shift, I kept tips and bagged cash in an envelope under my mattress. That day I counted $1. 200 even. Shots for Blue. Food. A real vechek. Maybe a better crate, so he wouldn't chew the desk corner. I lifted the mattress that night. The envelope was flat. Mom, I held the empty envelope in the kitchen like a dead leaf. She was stirring mustard into Walmart potato salad. The TV weather guy smiled under a green storm map. She didn't turn. Your brother's card got declined. She said. Books for next semester. Those aren't books. I said. He already graduated. She dropped the spoon. Don't talk back. You've got enough. Hannah. You feed a dog like it's a person. We're a family. Dad walked in from the garage. Grease on his knuckles. Shop towel in one hand. Beer in the other. He didn't ask. He took the envelope. Thumbed it. Slid it into his back pocket. You live here, he said. Voice flat. What's in this house is this house. Blue sat by the fridge. Tongue out. Head tilted like he understood. His collar was bright blue like the crayon in a kid's box. He'd nosed the potato salad earlier. A smear of mustard streaked the strap. I wiped it with my sleeve. My hands shook. My voice didn't. Okay, I said. I hear you. That's how you survive some houses. You collect sentences. You file them away. You don't scream. Because they'll make your scream the story. You go quiet. You take stock. Cuts piled up. Jason's 18th, he got a stainless steel watch, Dad said, cost $450. Give or take. I got a $50 shell card and a warning not to drive too much. His graduation, a rented tent. Costco cake with his name in blue frosting. Coolers of Bud Light. Mine lukewarm sheet pizza, and we're busy this week. He got a used Civic to get you to that job downtown. I kept riding the bus with cracked vinyl seats that tattoo lines on your thighs in July. Daily American details stack like receipts in a glove box, Kroger time cards. The bleach smell at the diner where I picked up late shifts. Mom whispering useless thing when I asked for a signature on a scholarship form. Dad setting his beer on the same coffee table ring. Leaving a permanent circle. Jason's, I'll pay you back Venmo's weird. And it never came. It's not one blow. It's the steady push. When Grandma got sick, the house went quiet in a new way. No shouting. Just calculation. Mom kept a spiral notebook by the landline names. Dates. Who visited? Who didn't? Dad wore his good work boots to the hospital, like respect lived in leather. He called her Ma and didn't look at me. A week before March 2, we were alone. She wanted crushed ice. Her nails had ridges like old seashells. You listening, she whispered. Yes. Ma'am. Don't let them change the paper. I didn't know what she meant. A week later, a lawyer called. There was a will. There were conditions. Words like co-owner and consent floated in the afternoon dust. Dad closed the kitchen door. Mom ran the faucet. Jason went outside to call somebody, laughing like a guy who found a 20 in his coat. The night blue died. It rained. Not pretty rain. The kind that makes the garage smell like mildew and rubber. I came home to the sound of metal and something that wasn't metal. Blue whimpered like dogs do when they dream. He wasn't sleeping. A shovel. Bare concrete. No yelling. Dad stood over him. He looked at me the way you read store hours. If you don't behave, you'll be like that dog. Mom didn't cry. She looked at me. Not him. What a useless thing. A little laugh. Like I'd told the same bad joke again. They locked me in my room. The click still wakes me. I stared at college brochures and a calendar with a golden retriever in glasses. Tape curls at the corners. My phone was on the desk. I pressed record. I said the date. I said what I heard. I described shovel. Rain. Smell. It was habit by then to document life like a cashier logging coupons. I didn't cry until I saw the collar. Later, after the lights went out one by one, I eased the window screen, slithered to the roof, dropped to the grass. The collar hung on a nail in the garage like a trophy. Blue against gray. The smear on the strap had dried. Mustard. Stupid. Ordinary. It broke me. I pressed the plastic buckle to my chest and cried without sound. 2 nights later, I left. Backpack. $80 in tips. W 2 inches, the front pouch. The collar looped through a belt loop on my jeans. I told no one. I caught the 510A. M. Greyhound from the station behind the IHOP. The one with the flicker light. The heater didn't work. The bathroom door didn't latch. We rolled past cornfields and billboards. A liar number. A mattress sale. A church sign God sees. I stared out and made a promise. I didn't say I'll come back when I'm ready. Not when you call. 10 years is long enough for a secret to grow teeth. I learned to listen more than talk. I learned county websites. I learned the courthouse smell copy paper and old carpet. Clerks have good days and bad like everyone. I learned not to flinch at raised voices. I saved every email. Not answering a text is also an answer. I built life the boring way. 2 jobs. Night classes. A studio with a hissing radiator. A snake plant that survived 4 years. Friends who didn't demand proof of worth. I walked dogs for cash and tried not to pick favorites. But I always noticed blue collars. I kept Blue's collar in a shoebox with my social security card and old receipts. On moving days, that box rode in my lap. Then, last month, my phone pinged. I track addresses the way some people track ex's Zillow. Redfin. County records. Hobby. Sure. Also silent preparation. The Maple House showed a home equity line opened 8 months ago. Grainy PDF. Doc hash 41827. 2 signatures. Notmina. I didn't flare. I filed. I sent a certified letter to the bank. A question. Not an accusation. I taped the USPS tracking inside the shoebox lid, next to the collar. I booked a week at Motel 6 off the highway, $59. 99 plus tax. Room key with a scratch down the middle. I rented a gray Nissan. I told my boss I needed time for family matters. Not a lie. I mapped the clerk's office. The lawyer's building, where the outlets are near the lobby chairs. I opened notes and made a list titled, Maple. Bullets. Check boxes. It made my breathing even. So this morning, Dunkin' coffee in the cup holder. I drove past the high school. Same brick. Same softball fence bent in one corner. Past Kroger where I used to clock out and count tips by the time clock. Onto our street. The house looked smaller. That happens when you leave. The lilac bush Grandma loved was brown sticks. A crooked for rent sign leaned by the mailbox. Phone number in vinyl. The porch bulb buzzed at 830 A.M. like a trapped fly. I parked across. Met my own eyes in the rear view. I looked like someone who slept and ate. Not a hero. Not a victim. A person with a plan. Mrs. Lopez Samerobe. Same slippers shuffled out for the paper. She saw me. Held up 2 fingers. A little peace sign. Her mouth made an O. She pressed her hand to her chest. I lifted my chin. Not yet. I thought, we'll talk when I'm done. I opened the shoebox on the passenger seat. The collar sat on top. Smooth from years of touch. I clicked it around my wrist like a bracelet. Plastic buckle. Tiny snap. I don't wear jewelry. This felt right. Checklist clerk. Lavier. Bank. Last. The doorbell camera. I bought on sale at Lowe's because proof is cheap if you plan. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. We heard you're in town. Don't start something you can't finish. 3 dots. Another text. We're still your family. I set the phone face down. Took a sip. The coffee was already losing heat. Maple Street was quiet except for a lawn crew 2 doors down. A blower whining. A man sipping from a gas station cup. I turned the key and let the engine settle. There's a kind of revenge that doesn't shout. It documents. It timestamps. It asks the right clerk on the right day. It doesn't need an audience. It needs a file number. I pulled into traffic. Checked my mirrors. Merged. I don't knock anymore. I file. April 14. 2025. 931A. M. County Clerk's Office. 2nd floor toner. Lemon cleaner. Shoes on wax tile. A TV on mute looped a PSA about dog licenses. I pulled a red ticket from the dispenser. A109. The Keurig hissed hazelnut into the air. My Dunkin' was already lukewarm. Small wound. Fresh day. The man 2 windows down didn't look up. Sweetheart, he said, tapping keys like they'd stolen from him. If you wanted rights. You should have stayed local. He slid my ID back with his fingertip. Like heat, was contagious. I noted his nameplate Brent. I didn't correct him. I wrote his name in Maple Notes app. Then I breathed. A 109. The speaker crackled. Window 4. Carla. Cardigan the color of mint gum. Pen with a sunflower taped to it. I slid the packet. Grandma's will. The clause that says, co-owner. The line that repeats consent. She read without dramatics. The good clerks never perform. You have your affidavit, she asked. Stamped this morning. UPS store notary. Square and black. We'll record a list pendens, she said. Puts a cloud on the title. No one can claim they didn't know. Her click sounded like a metronome. Fees $38. Whoosher. Card. I tapped. The terminal beeped. She stapled the receipt to my copy and slid it back. Document number posts by 3. She said. Search by parcel or name. Thank you, I said. Paper has a voice. She said. Soft. Like church. Next. 1012A. M. Adler, Co. Over the bakery that sells oatmeal cookies bigger than my palm. The receptionist's nails had tiny daisies. The office smelled like copier, warm-up, and sugar. Mr. Adler wore a tie with coffee cups on it and had a basset hound photo on the shelf. He read the will. Then the home equity documents. Then my affidavit. The line of credit is frail. He said, your missing signature is a missing leg. Table still stands until you lean. Lean. I said. We'll follow the list pendens with a lender notice. He said. And a letter to any prospective tenants. Clouded title means proceed at your own risk. He drafted while I watched heavy letterhead. The kind that thuds when it lands. To whom it may concern. Missing co-owner consent. Reliance is unreasonable. He looked up. We send certified Azio. You save every scrap. I keep a box, I said. He slid me a yellow pad. Log every call. Date. Time. Who said what? Exact words. I titled the page, Maple Calls, and made my first entry, 1026 A.M. Edlerlean. Endis brand. 1140 A.M. The bank on Oak. Lobby lollipops, no kid wants. A kid's table, with crayons jammed into a styrofoam cup. I asked for the manager. Teresa arrived navy blazer. Soft shoes. Practical smile. I'm here about Doc #41827. I said. I'm a named co-owner. My consent isn't on it. I spread the will. The Lispendens receipt. Adler's letter. Paper fanned like a quiet weather system. She read. She frowned, not at me. She called Rita, in compliance. On speaker. Hold music, ran 6 piano notes into the ground. Teresa muted a second. It's unusual, she said. Not rare. Rita came on. I spelled my name. I used the will's vocabulary, co-owner. Consent. Executed without. I gave the loan date. I gave my absence. I gave their problem. Rita exhaled. We'll place a temporary suspension pending review, she said. 48 hours. Appreciated, I said. Thank the documents, she said. Click. Teresa printed an internal note. My name on it. Loan number partially redacted. Keep this, she said. If anyone calls you, low it. I slid the page into the shoebox in my passenger seat. Blue's collar touched it. Plastic, on paper. Like a blessing. 115p. M. Lowe's. I grabbed a doorbell camera off the clearance shelf, last year's model. Open box. Sticker as is. Batteries anyway. Ziptius. Painter's tape. At the subway, by the exit. A dad wiped yellow mustard from a toddler's cheek. The collar at my wrist warmed. The world has a way of repeating itself until you answer. 203 p.m. Maple Street Stakeout. Ah, si, on low. Karen was mid-church smile for a young couple. She pointed at the porch. Did the palm-up realtor swoop? The guy wore a Planet Fitness tee. The woman sipped from a Target water bottle with peeling stickers. A moon. A cow. A cat in skates. I filmed through a barely cracked window, not for the internet. Memory needs proofs too. Karen's phone rang. She turned away. I rolled my window another inch. No. We can't wait, she said. Money's tight since. She glanced at the couple. Pitched her voice down. Since the mess. A beat. Michael's handling. Everything. The old tone slid in. Hannah, she doesn't. She kept her face still. She's not here. I let a smile happen. I texted Adler mom showing. He answered. Notices going out? 308 p.m. County site updated 2025 to 003312. I screenshotted. Then printed at the library for 10 cents. The librarian stamped 312 p.m. in purple because the printer likes attention. I filed both digital. Paper. 2 mirrors. 340 p.m. Porch steps. Old wood. Wasp paper tucked in the eaves. The porch light buzzing at daylight like it forgot its job. The door was of course unlocked. I mounted the camera with painter's tape for now. The app chimed connected. I named it Blue Front. Motion alerts, every time. I stood there and studied the paint. The scratches clustered around the lock like a constellation. I let my palm hover over the wood. I didn't touch. The house doesn't get that from me. 422 p.m. My phone vibrated. Motion detected Blue Front. I watched from the car. Michael stepped into frame. Jacket I know by heart cuff, stained with a color most people don't recognize until you point. He tried the handle. Slipped inside without knocking. Got it, Jason, off camera. Yeah, Michael said. Let's get the papers before his voice dropped. Before anybody notices. Clear. The way posted hours are clear. I saved the clip 3 ways phone. Cloud. USB behind my library card. I sent it to Adler with the subject got it. He replied, evidence prefers silence. 6:05 p.m. I parked at the bank again, symmetry is a calm drug, and dialed the number on the crooked for rent sign. Vinyl bubbles under the digits. Karen answered on the second ring. Voice candle warm. Hi. I said. I saw the listing. It's a lovely property. She rushed. 2 bedrooms. Close to schools. New appliances. Hi. Mom. Silence. Then the empty clink of my name in her mouth. Hannah. You're being dramatic. No. I said. I'm being exact. You've always been ungrateful. She said. We did what we had to do. Family is consent. I said. And mine wasn't given. I don't know what you think you have. She said. It won't last. Sun hit the office windows and shattered into the lot. I have a file number. I said. And a doorbell. She ended the call. I logged it on the yellow pad, 6:07 p.m. Karen ungrateful. Exact words. Exact minute. 7:30 p.m. Mote 6. The A divided by C rattled. Then steadied. I laid the day on the bed will. Liz Pendon's receipt. Bank note. Adler letters. 2025 tot 003312 screenshot. The clip frozen on Michael's face. I ate dinner from a gas station bag trail mix. A freckled banana. Diet Coke that hissed like it knew my secrets. The TV filled the room with other people's games and canned laughter. Today's small cuts, local from Brent. Unusual from Teresa. Ungrateful from Karen. I don't keep them warm. I let them cool into bricks and build with them. Before sleep, I opened the shoebox. Blue's collar was on top. Plastic smooth from years of thumb passes. The buckle clicked when I squeezed it. I timed my breath with the hum of the unit. Steady in. Steady out. No shaking. Counting. Another motion alert. I didn't look. I know the choreography of that porch, the ghost light. The drag on the hinge. The way night leans across the boards. Proof doesn't need witnesses, it needs timestamps. This wasn't the storm. This was the pressure falling. Tomorrow I walk into the branch with the clip on a USB and the document number printed twice. One for each of us. Tomorrow, I copy the tenants on the letter and let the cloud sit heavy over the house until even vultures pass. Sharp. Silent revenge isn't fireworks. It's a freeze order posted at 9:04 a.m. It's a clerk initialing the margin. It's the sound of a scanner bar crawling across paper. I set my phone face down. The room darkened. I don't beg. I freeze. April 15. 2025. 8:04 a.m. Bank lot on Oak, the one with the cracked flagstone by the handicapped spot, and a single tulip trying in bad soil. Lobby lights were on, sign still said, closed. I chewed a protein bar that tasted like wet cardboard. Watched a sparrow hop between bumpers. And checked gas across the street, $3. Sishityo. A delivery guy shouldered a box of copy paper through the doors. Everyday America. Awake. Small wound to start a security guard wrapped 2 knuckles on my window. We don't allow camping. He said. Flat. Eyes on the shoebox in my passenger seat. I have a meeting. I said. Lowering the glass, 2 inches. He tapped his badge Mac. Doors at 9. There's a Starbucks. Thanks. Mac. I said. I'll be right here. Blue's collar caught a stripe of sun and went still. 9:01 a.m. Teresa waved me in. Flats today. Not heels. Compliance reviewed your clip overnight, she said. Closing her office door, I looped legal. I set 3 things on her desk in a neat line: the USB, the printout 2025 to 003312, and a copy of Grandma's will with the highlighted co-owner clause. Paper. Plastic. Ink. She hit speaker. Rita. Here. Rita said. Calm as yesterday. We're executing a hard freeze on the line. No draws. No auto debits. Effective 9:04 a.m. A certified letter goes out today. Will require either a signed consent addendum from both co-owners or a court order. Until then, the account is ice. My phone buzzed temporary suspension active. I like words that do work. Understood. I said. Keep logs. Rita added. Begging. Then threats. Then nostalgia. It's the usual ladder. Click. Teresa slid me an internal note with my name on it. If anyone here gets contacted, it routes to legal only. On my way out, Mac held the door a second longer than necessary. Good luck, he murmured. Luck is for Raffles, I said. I brought paper. 1016 a.m. Maple Street curb. Mrs. Lopez crossed with a church fundraiser cup of coffee and 2 sugar packets folded into quarters. Windbreaker with a tiny dove embroidered on the chest. She opened my passenger door like she's always had that right. You set your jaw like your grandma, she said. Settling in. I can smell a freeze from my porch. I need your eyes on a line, I said, sliding the affidavit across. Date you heard Blue. What you heard. What you saw. She put on reading glasses, held together with floral tape. Read every word. Then uncapped a blue pen with her teeth. Signed, printed, April 15. 2025. The nib squeaked like a door that never got oil. Bring me a copy, she said. And eat something green today. I'll try, I said. I always mean it when I say it to her. 1103 a.m. The animal shelter on Ridge. Not the police paper first. Ms. Pruitt. The director. They read my forwarded vet email from 10 years ago, the subject lines nesting like Russian dolls and my own affidavit from that night. She didn't reach for dramatics. People who see worse don't. Statute's tricky on the past, she said. But the video of them entering and removing papers from a house you co-own, that's now. We'll file for trespass and tampering, and attach our notes. Patterns matter. She slid a card across. We run a fund for cruelty prosecutions. If charges form, we back the county attorney with legwork. I've been alone before, I said. We prefer when you're not, she said. Bring copies. By noon, my left hand had become a stapler. 1222 p.m. Lunch in the car, Wendy's baked potato. Side salad. Butter formed a little river on foil. Radio ad for a mattress store. Then a lawyer who sues other lawyers. America hums in practical keys. 1233 p.m. Text from Jason Banks being fussy. Stop making mom upset. We'll fix it. I typed. Deleted. Typed. Deleted. Sent all communication in writing. Save your words. Logged it. 1234 p.m. Fussy. 105 p.m. A locksmith named Gus met me at the porch Raiders cap. Sunburned neck. Hands you trust around hinges. You got paper says you can do this, he asked. Not unkind. I showed the will, the list pendants, the doorbell clipped Michael's voice. Let's get the papers before she. Gus didn't need the sentence to finish. 2 cylinders. He said. New keys. I'll bag the old guts with a note. His drill hummed clean. The old lock sighed out like bad teeth. He tagged the new ring Maple Hannah in neat block caps. You want a deadbolt? 2, he asked. I want a boundary. I said. That's what a deadbolt is. He said. Driving 4 screws home with the steady pride of a man who knows endings. Small wound while he worked, Karen's Camry rolled to the curb with Jason riding shotgun. They didn't clock Gus's van until he stood. Jason hopped out with a swagger he'd been practicing since 8th grade. Open up, he called. We have rights. Hi, Jason, I said, stepping into frame. Hi, Mom. Karen's church smile blinked on. Then off. You're taking this too far, she said. Low. We did what we had to do. Michael says. Gus wiped his hands. Afternoon, he said. Working for Ms. Hannah. You can't change the locks, Jason snapped. As a co-owner, I said. Even. I can secure the property. No trespass notice is posted. If you want access, email my attorney to schedule. Jason Bark laughed. A lawyer for family? Family is consent. I said. One last time. Mine wasn't given. Karen finally noticed the camera. Her face learned it was being seen. She hissed. You're humiliating us. I'm documenting, I said. Humiliation's a side effect. Jason stepped close, jaw working on a word he didn't say. You think a camera scares me? No? I said. Honesty should. Gus turned the last screw. Done, he said. He held out a small zip bag with brass and dust inside. For your records. Karen tugged Jason's sleeve. We'll see you in court, she said. It sounded like a dare and a prayer at once. I'll save you a seat, I said. They left. Clear tape held a crack on the Camry's taillight time. Showing through. 2:40 p.m. Library. I printed no trespass by order of co-owner in big block font. Laminated for $1. Taped it behind the glass, with painter's tape at 4 corners. I set blue front to email Adler every time the door opened. My lawyer deserves to jump at the same ghosts. 3:10 p.m. Clerk's office again. Carla slid a recorded copy of the list pendants under the glass purple stamp. Document number. That faint solvent smell. Green cards in a week, she said. Don't lose them. I don't lose paper, I said. She looked at the shoebox. I know. 4:02 p.m. Bank. Teresa had me sit under a ficus that wasn't trying very hard. Certified letters went out, she said, handing me an envelope copy. Also, note on your parents' profile, no employee contact except through legal. At the kids' table, a boy tried to color with 2 crayons at once. It made mud. He liked it anyway. 4:37 p.m. Unknown call. I let it ring out. Michael's voicemail landed. Voice measured like store hours. You're making trouble you won't understand. Houses are for men to manage. Dogs are dogs. I saved it. My kill houses divided by men. Logged. Did not reply. 5:20 p.m. Staples. File folders in glacier blue because I have a sense of humor. Labels bank. Court. Shelter. Tenants. Audio. I sorted in the car with the A divided by C on and the 6 o'clock weather talking about a cold front. A woman in the next space said into her Bluetooth. He can pay child support but not answer a text. The country is a choir of single sentences that could be whole plays. 6:03 p. M. Motezex. Dinner was a lean cuisine microwave, two fast edges boiling. Middle still ice. I laid the day on the bed. Freeze email. Recorded number. Mrs. Lopez's affidavit. Ms. Pruitt's card. Gus's invoice. Teresa's internal note. The laminated no trespass. The Lispendens copy with the purple bleed. I read Michael's transcript again. Houses are for men to manage. I didn't argue with a recording. Recordings never change their lines. Blue front. Person detected. Karen stood on the porch. Fingers on the sign. She read. Shoulders squared. She left it up. Choosing not to tear a thing down is also a sentence. Inbox pinged twice. Adler's tenant letter batch went out. Blind copying me. Property in dispute. Do not rely. Deposits at your own risk. 2 quick replies. Planet Fitness shirt guy. Thanks, looking elsewhere. Sticker bottle woman, we're out. I didn't cheer. I don't celebrate a lease dying. I celebrate a lie going hungry. I sent Mrs. Lopez a PDF of her affidavit and a thank you. Sent Gus a photo of the sign with his deadbolt glinting. He replied with a single wrench emoji. It meant more than paragraphs. 811p. M. USPS tracker updated accepted at post office for the certified letters. A gray sentence. But if you've ever waited on a green card to come home with 2 signatures and a date, you know it sings. TV off. Room quiet, the kind you win. Not the kind you're given. I brushed my teeth at the small sink. Set the shoebox on the chair by the window. Clicked Blue's collar once. Let it rest on top. Tomorrow is filing's temporary injunction to bar unauthorized entry. Tenant notices logged with the county. Freeze confirmation, printed twice, one for me. 1. For anyone who says they didn't see. I'm bringing donuts to the clerk's office. Sugar is the oil of small machines. Today. 1 line shut. 1 door locked. 1 sign faced the street. The sequence is simple. Freeze first. Then, knock. I don't threaten. I serve. April 16. 2025. 758 a.m. County Courthouse. Ground floor. Past the metal detector that smells like pocket change and winter coats. A deputy wanded my boot beep at the zipper. The hallway cart sold burnt coffee for $1. I bought 1 and 2 powdered donuts that dusted my black jeans like chalk. Ordinary morning. Paperwork weather. Small wound to start, Mrs. Fielding from Church Pearls too tight cornered me by the bulletin board. Karen says you're confused. She whispered. Like a diagnosis. She says you're stealing her home. Good morning. I said. I'm filing a temporary injunction. Her mouth made a small O. A candle just blown out. I kept walking. 812 a.m. Civil window. Clerk in a sweatshirt. Coffee is my love language. Namatak Reina. I slid a stack motion. Affidavit. Exhibits blue front stills. Bank freeze email. Recorded list pendants. Mrs. Lopez's statement. I'd tabbed everything in blue. Private jokes are free. Reina flipped. Stump it. Slid the fee calculator. You want ex parte today? Yes. I said. Safety for the property. She nodded. Judge Dillard takes these at 9. Stamp. Stamp. If signed. Sheriff posts. Make 3 copies. Judges like options. 903 a.m. Division C. The bailiff called my name like a service ticket. Dillard had a tiny cactus on his bench, with a fake neon bloom. He read without commentary, the best kind of reading. You have the bank's freeze, he asked. Yes. I slid Teresa's internal note, and the email, temporary suspension active. He studied Michael's porch still. Then the line, let's get the papers before she... He didn't need the rest. Entry without consent. Title dispute. He said. His pen clicked. Temporary restraining order granted, no entry. Na removal. No leasing effective upon posting. Hearing May 1, 900 A.M. Serve all parties. The bailiff stamped signed in red. Heavy ink. Raina slid me 3 copies with the same rhythm as her calculator. Sheriff Civil is in the basement, she said. Follow the yellow tape. 932 A.M. Sheriff Civil. Deputy Alvarez stapled my packet to a bright cover that said Service of Process and popped a peppermint in his cheek. We'll post today, he said. We'll try personal service on Michael and Karen. Annie Abbott's. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Church. Saturdays, 9 a.m. Meyer groceries, I said. Michael buys the off-brand cereal in a bag. Alvarez grinned. I like working with people who take notes. I slid 2 Krispy Kremes across. Sugar keeps small gears moving. Preach, he said. 1040 a.m. I watched from Starbucks across the street. The app pinged, blue front motion. Alvarez's hand. Then the white sheet with the county seal. Tape in 4 neat squares. He took a photo. The camera took its own. 2 proofs. Same truth. Family group text where I'm still a gray bubble lit up. Karen, what is this on the door? Jason, illegal. I'll rip it off. Michael, do nothing. 2 words. Finally useful. I forwarded the screenshot to Adler. He sent back a PDF order posted violation notice. Slide it under the door. He wrote. Firm. Not loud. 1115 A.M. Insurance office on Main. Fluorescents. Pens with logos. Poster of a couple under a maple tree that looked like clip art. Agent Kathy, read the will's co-owner line. Then my packet. They didn't disclose a co-owner while trying to lease, she said, tapping her keyboard like a chess clock. Underwriting will issue cancellation pending or change terms. Bank gets the memo. In writing, I said. In writing, she said. Tearing a letter off a perforation. I wanted to rip myself. I didn't. 1150 A.M. Code enforcement. Counterman Andre listened while I described the porch sag and the unpermitted rental listing. We aren't a cudgel, he said. Practiced. I don't need one, I said, sliding the order and my affidavit. If they rent, tenants get hurt. He studied the photo, the step dip, you only see when a camera stares all day. He sighed. We'll do a courtesy inspection. Door hunger. If they don't call, we cite. That's enough, I said. 103 p.m. Mayer. Ink for the motel printer and celery, because Mrs. Lopez said something green. In frozen foods. I saw Michael compare pizzas. Lips moving. Math out loud. He didn't see me. His phone rang. Yes. I saw it. He said. No. Don't touch it. It's court. He put back the brand box. Picked the cheaper bag with a cartoon tomato. I walked by like he was any man choosing dinner. My heart did nothing. That felt like a document filed. 222 p.m. Motel desk. I drafted demand for accounting rents. Deposits. Dates. Amounts. 10 days to respond. Adler added teeth. Failure is conversion with civil penalties. He loves commas where it hurts. 310 p.m. Next door ping beware rental on Maple owner says it's in court, do not pay. Not me. A neighbor. The internet isn't always fire. Sometimes it's a bucket. 344 p.m. Blue front. Again, Karen read the order. Fingers hovering like she might peel. She didn't. She took a photo and left. Restraint is still evidence. 405 p.m. Voicemail from Sheriff Order posted. No contact yet. We'll try Mayor Saturday. The serial note was for something 440 p.m. While pages printed, small injustices floated up like Lint Jason borrowing my Kroger badge for a fake ID. Dad saying boys will be boys when the Civic died and I took the bus. Mom telling Mrs. Fielding I was too sensitive after one clean tear at Grandma's funeral. These don't win cases. They harden will. 6:02 p.m. Church lot. I didn't go in. I parked across and watched families drift out like geese. Karen hugged too long. Michael shook hands like he was running for something. Jason didn't show. A white sedan eased up. Deputy Alvarez stepped out with a folder. He waited for the last hymn to close the door, then walked with the patience of gravity. Michael Pierce, he said. Voice that reaches the back pews. That's me, Michael said, squaring into pretend tall. You've been served. Alvarez held out the packet. Temporary restraining order. Hearing May 1. No entry. No leasing. No removal. Sign to acknowledge. Air thinned. People pretended to talk about weather. Karen slid in between like a bad extra. We decline, she said. You're not the named party on this packet. Alvarez said. Calm as a forecast. Mr. Pierce. Michael hesitated. Then signed. His signature looked like a crack in glass. Alvarez left a second packet for Karen. A third for Jason. Have a good evening, he said. Like a dare to the sky. Michael scanned the lot for me and didn't find me. I watched from the shadow of a pine where teenagers text. Blue's collar warmed under my wrist. 8:12 p.m. Motel 6. Ink finally flowed. I sealed the demand for accounting 1 to the house. 1. To Michael's work, certified slips like little tongues. I copied the sheriff's returns and stapled them to the order. Twins for everything. Paper likes company. Text rolled in. Michael, this isn't over. Karen, you broke our family. Jason, you love attention more than blood. Screenshots. Folder texts. No replies. Silence is a full sentence. Tomorrow, insurance cancellation pending, mailed to the bank. Code inspection door hanger. Tenant warnings by certified mail. And a quiet visit to the title office to flag the cloud again. Donuts for Reina and Alvarez, because gratitude runs on sugar. Today, judge signed. Sheriff posted. Church witnessed. One sheet on a door changed the route of a family. I don't plead. I execute. April 22. 2025. 8:06 a.m. USPS on Broad the flag sticks halfway. The bulletin board sells piano lessons and finds lost beagles. The line curled past glitter birthday cards. A kid rattled a Mentos tube like maracas. I balanced 2 certified letters on the scale. Slid on form 3,800 like Band-Aids. Small wound. Fresh day. The man behind me sighed at the ceiling. Some people love drama. The clerk Janelle. Glitter nails. Pin reading. I can't fix. Your attitude didn't look up. Some people love proof, she said. Stamping. Next. Green cards tucked into my shoebox. Blue's collar tapped them once. Quiet metronome. 9:02 a.m. Motel 6 printer spat. Insurance cancellation pending. Kathy had CC'd the bank. Highlighted line. Material misrepresentation occupancy. Policy cancels April 28, unless corrected. No caps. No exclamation points. Weather change. Stated calmly. 9:11 a.m. Teresa texted bank received cancellation. Legal reviewing. Adler replied, expect notice of acceleration. Papers got a fuse. 10:20 a.m. Hardware store. I bought 2 motion floods. A garage padlock. AAA. Batteries. The cashier smelled like cedar shavings. Tag, said Huck. Raccoons, he asked. Family, I said. Ah. He nodded. Species recognized. 1103A. M. Maple Street. Porch light still buzzed at noon. Confused about its job. I walk the perimeter with notes open gate latch loose, back frame soft, garage door tired. Screws you tighten before a storm. An old injustice floated up on its own age 12. Kitchen table. Jason telling Grandma I'd lost $20. Dad's stare like a lie was a mirror. Mom's, she's dramatic. No yelling. Just a quiet that rearranges bones. I put it back in its file and kept walking. Noon. Mrs. Lopez waved a sandwich wrapped in paper towel. Mouthed eat. I held up celery like a promise. 1240p. M. Adler called. File partition by sale. Ask for a receiver to secure the place and catch any stray rent. Judges like adult supervision. On it. 118p. M. Clerk's office. Raina lifted an eyebrow like we worked the same shift. I slid complaint for partition. Motion divided by a point receiver. Proposed order tabs lined like paint swatches. Fee $135. Receipt thin and warm. Judge Marlowe pulls partitions. She said. He likes numbers. I count to breathe. 206p. M. Bank lot. Email hit notice of acceleration demand for payment in full. The line that matters. Because of insurance cancellation and clouded title. Pay the balance by May 5, or we pursue foreclosure. PDF. 3 pages. Tone parent done bargaining. I forwarded to Michael. Karen. Jason with subject. For your records. Set the phone face down. Ate a Cliff Bar that tasted like sweet gravel. 240p. M. Code enforcement left a door hanger, courtesy inspection call within 8 hours. Andre scribbled pork sog, handrail, garage soft spot. The hanger wagged like a small flag that meant later. 310p. M. Next door ping Yoop date maple. Is a legal mess. Do not pay. Not me. A neighbor. The internet. For once. A bucket. 327p. M. Title office. I filed notice of pendency of partition. Ellen. Nosering. Red hair. Stamped and slid a copy. Shows on every search. She said. No clean sales. That's the point. 402p. M. The family thread warmed Karen. This is harassment. Jason Dad will sue you. Michael. Come talk face to face like an adult. I sent all communication in writing. See attached. Attach the acceleration notice. The order. Send. Log. Breathe. 540p. M. Planet Fitness lot. I handed Caleb, the almost tenant, a paper copy of the order. 20-something. Neat gym bag. Posture of someone lifting his own life. We almost gave cash. He said. Thanks. He glanced toward the house. That mom could sell air. She tried. I said. We shook hands like neighbors. 705p. M. Alvarez called. Receiver motion lands with Marlowe tomorrow. He said. If he signs. Locks change. Utilities shift. Ledgers start. Emotion left when they sold blue for $0. I said. Not a metaphor. A fact. 811p. M. Motel. I laid out the day USPS receipts, like tiny railroads, cancellation letter, acceleration notice, partition receipt, door hanger, next door screenshot, Caleb's thank you scribbled on a day pass. We're out, thanks. H. Blue's collar on top. 1 click. Good sound. Voicemail Michael. This is the last time I'm saying this. You don't tear down what a man builds. Saved Michael Man builds. File names speak. Fluent judge. April 23. 2025 9:04 a.m. Judge Marlowe's courtroom. Oak. Old air. A clock that ticks like a metronome with opinions. He wore readers balanced on the end of his nose. Adler spoke in straight lines. Clouded title. Absent consent. Bank acceleration. Code issues. Michael and Karen sat 2 rows back. Matching frowns. Jason's hoodie read, "No days off." Sleep said otherwise. Marlowe glanced over my tabs. "Ms. Pierce," he said. "Tidy file." "Yes. Your Honor. Receivership is extraordinary," he mused. "But so is a house eating itself, while adults argue." His pen pressed slow. "Certain. Receiver appointed. Authority to secure. Inventory. Maintain. Report Duquator's days. Tampering equals contempt." Karen made a kettle sound. Michael's mouth went flat. Jason muttered, "What a joke." The court reporter didn't smile. Her eyes almost did. Outside. Adler handed me the stamped order. "Name is Baines," he said. "Retired Navy. Toxin invoices." Karen slid to my shoulder like weather. "My mother's china. My quilts. Schedule it with the receiver." Adler said, "List items. Cameras on. You're cruel." She told me. "I'm exact," I said. "I can sleep on exact." 1:122 a.m. Baines called. Voice like gravel. "On my way? 2 trucks. Locksmith. Videographer. Attend or don't. I'll be there." Noon. Maple Street looked like a tidy emergency. Baines stepped from a white pickup in a cap USN Ret. 1 hard handshake. Locks change. Inventory tags. Utilities to trust account. Garage gets a padlock. He nodded at my no trespass. "We keep it." "Iat mina." Gus my locksmith arrived like good, déjà vu. He nodded to Baines. Then to me. "Let's keep this clean." The drill thrum felt like a steady heart. Climax wasn't loud. It was signatures and stickers. Baines moved room to room with a camera and a lapel mic. Sofa. Tan. Moderate wear. 6-chair table. Veneer chip. Box Christmas. Contents unknown. Sticker numbers matched ledger lines. He snapped meter photos. Noted porch sack. Logged the garage soft spot. Shut off the ice maker. Wrapped a dripping joint with Teflon tape like a bandage. Michael rolled up mid-process and planted himself on the curb like a stump that missed its tree. "You can't keep me from my house," he said to the air. He wasn't speaking to a person. He was arguing with an order. Bain didn't look up. "Receiver in possession," he said. "Email to schedule personal property pickups." "Not today. I built that porch," Michael said. "The tone men use on Legend. It's sagging," Baines said. "Neutral, as weather." He wagged the camera. "And now it's recorded." Karen stared at me. "My quilts will mildew. Make a list," I said, handing her Baines's card. "Bring boxes. The camera runs." Jason arrived late. Hood up. He pinged a pebble off the curb. "You happy? You broke them." "They made the choices," I said. I wrote them down. 3:40 p.m. Final lock clicked. Baines gave me receiver's entry with a fresh case stamp. "Utilities shift tonight. Any entry triggers police." He handed Michael and Karen a 1-pager access protocol. "Email only. No walk-ups." He stuck his own receiver and control sign next to mine. Trucks pulled away. The house sat between us like a patient, finally under competent care. 4:12 p.m. I stood at the sidewalk and just looked. When someone names a sag and promises to fix it, the sag already looks smaller. Phone buzzed 3 levers. Teresa acceleration notice delivered. Kathy insurance cancels at midnight. Andra inspection Friday tia. M. I returned to the car. The shoebox waited. Collar on top. I clicked it once and closed the lid. Tomorrow. Notice of partition mails to every address they've ever claimed. Tomorrow. Baines drops his first invoice, and Michael learns contempt isn't just a feeling. Tomorrow. I'll ask for a sale date. Today. The ground under them moved. I don't shout. I set the terms. May 29. 2025. 841A. M. Title office on Elm, the lobby with the glass candy dish of butterscotch and pens, nobody steals on purpose. A printer hummed somewhere behind the wall. Lawn crews thumped tailgates outside. A Keurig sighed into paper cups inside. Thursday. Regular as a receipt. The small wound showed up early. Karen brushed past me in the hall and whispered, "You were always dramatic." Blue was just a dog. She made it sound like a kind thing. Like rain that only gets floors wet. Good morning. I told the room. I sat. The shoebox sat on my lap. Blue's collar was on top. Cool buckle against my wrist. 902A. M. Closing room B. Baines the receiver had set chairs like a battlefield you win with folders. Adler opened a clean stack of papers in front of me. Michael and Karen came in together. Taut as wire. Jason slid in last in his no days off hoodie. Irone pre-installed. The closer. Maya. Carried in 3 piles. Seller's packet. Receiver disbursement. Payoff letter. She said, setting them down like plates. Questions at the end. Please. Adler spoke in plain math. Sale price $231. Ling ling ling. Payoff to bank on the accelerated line, $86. Subai. Receiver fees $4. 980. Locksmith and security, $612. Code repairs on $. 350. City fines $450. Taxes and closing costs $8. 760. Net $128. 448. He kept going. Steady as a metronome. Partition is 50 over 50. Offsets to Michael and Karen's share for unauthorized draws, $7. Lambe. Ms. Pierce's share unaffected. Michael's jaw chewed on a word he didn't use. You're bleeding us. Receipts bled you. Adler said. We added them up. Karen reached for a pen she didn't need. We raised you. She said. Like the walls needed context. You raised Jason. I said. Calm. You contained me. Jason leaned close. Spot me $2,000 till Friday. He murmured. I'll Venmo it back. I wrote on my legal pad. Venmo doesn't cure court. Then set the pen down where he could see it and not misread. 921A. M. Teresa from the bank appeared on a laptop tile. Rita from compliance filled the square next to her. We'll confirm payoff on signature. Rita said. Leon release files within 72 hours. Thank you. I said. Thank the documents. She said. Almost smiling. We understood each other's dialect now. Baines cleared his throat. Keys. He slid a small envelope across Maple Final. 2 brass keys. 1 round. 1 square. He logged the transfer 928A. M. HB divided by DB in block letters. Liljer Satisful. Karen blinked. Where are ours? Not yours anymore. Baines said. Not unkind. Just aligned with the world. A notary slid a form to Michael. Sign and print. He held the pen like it might accuse him. He signed anyway. Letters like a crack across glass. We reached the checks. Maya counted aloud, so nobody had to ask twice. 1 to First County Bank. 1 to Receiver Trust. 1 to City of Maple Ridge. 1 to Hannah Pierce, $71. 424. 1 to Michael and Karen Pierce, shaved down for the $7. 200 offset. The fines. The past due water bill, $624. And a storage lien, $312. Baines unearthed. The numbers stopped arguing and sat where math told them to sit. Karen took their check like longer. Fingers could lengthen it. They couldn't. Jason tried again. Smaller. Just until Friday. Friday doesn't fix yesterday. I said. Find work. Not cruelty. A forecast. 1005 a.m. Outside. The sun hit the hood of my rental like a symbol. Mrs. Lopez stood by the curb with a Tupperware and a plastic fork taped to the lid. I made you green beans, she said, and a little potato salad. But Dijon this time. We learn. She glanced at the shoebox and softened. You did this quiet. I had help. Help finds the houses that leave the porch light on, she said, and crossed back to her side like a parade of 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, a.m. Mayor parking lot. Michael at Western Union. Reading fees. Karen on a bench with glossy brochures, $289 divided by week. No credit check. Pet-friendly with an asterisk. Jason near the sliding doors. Watching his phone like it might deliver a miracle if he stared hard enough. I didn't walk over. Revenge that works doesn't need witnesses. It needs a ledger and cool hands. 1145 a.m. The shelter on Ridge. I handed Ms. Pruitt a cashier's check $10. 000 to Blues Trust. We'll fund prosecutions and vet bills, she said. We'll name the intake room Blue. A small mutt slept there already. Freckled nose. Ears too big for his head. The card read Morris. I knelt. He opened one eye and decided I wasn't a problem. I clicked Blue's collar unsa, then held it to his neck, like a prayer that doesn't ask for anything. 1, 2, 3, 0 p.m. I signed a lease for a 1-bedroom above a bakery that burns cinnamon on Saturdays. Emayen. 040 a month. Laundry in the basement. Tokens in a coffee mug by the door. The key felt heavy in my palm. Keys that belong to you always do. Afternoon was the errand victory lap. Raina got donuts with a sticky note. For options, Carla got a coffee. Teresa got a card that said thank you in my handwriting, which looked steadier than last year. Alvarez got a 6-pack of root beer with a note. For patience. Gus got paid again, and a photo of his deadbolt. Past tense and holding. 4:05 p.m. Andre emailed a photo, the porch braced. The dip gone. Complied. The file read. I hadn't realized how much I'd been standing on a slant until the picture stood level. 5:18 p.m. Michael texted you win. Winning wasn't the word I'd use. I saved the message as Michael you win and let it join the others that don't argue when you quote them. 6:02 p.m. Maple sidewalk. One last time. The new buyers, Caleb from Planet Fitness, and the sticker bottle woman. Lena walked up with a realtor. Their dog was a rescue with 3 legs and a pink harness and a face that makes strangers kneel. The realtor held a key with a tiny plastic house on the ring. Caleb caught my eye and lifted it like a small toast. I raised a hand and stepped back. I didn't need to walk in to know the house was different. Houses learn things when you tell the truth inside them. 7:40 p.m. New apartment. The shoebox went on the kitchen table. I took out the collar. I didn't hang it on a wall or bury it in a drawer. I set it in the center. The way people set flowers when they're ready for guests. The buckle clicked once. The room held the sound and let it land. I opened notes and wrote a list that didn't start with Maple for the first time in months. Rug blue. Snake plant forgives. Call Mrs. Lopez Sunday. Email Ms. Pruitt about Saturdays. Quiet. A truck downshifted outside. Long and low. No motion alerts lit up my phone. No unknown numbers tried their luck. Silence. Finally. Followed instructions. I washed 2 plates I hadn't used. I lay on a floor that belonged to me. 11 small injustices added up to one big correction. It didn't feel like triumph. It felt square. Like a picture finally straight on a wall. I slid my check into the folder and closed it. I don't love paper. I respect it. It remembers better than people do. The window held a slice of street lamp glow. The collar caught it and went a steady blue stubborn. Exact. Not needing anyone to clap. They taught me fear. I learned records. They taught me to hush. I learned to log. They taught me to knock. I learned procedures. When it was time to speak, I didn't argue. I lifted the deed. Story 2. At my wedding. My mother raised a glass of champagne and said, "I'm getting married, and I want you to vacate the house immediately." Everything went blurry in that moment. I canceled my honeymoon in Miami. Called a lawyer. And filed a pre-trial eviction notice. You won't believe what happened next. This day was supposed to be the happiest of my life. My name is Victoria. Just Vicky to my loved ones. I'm 26. I was sitting in the banquet hall at my own wedding in June 2024 and thinking, everything is perfect. My dress fit like a dream. Jake. A real handsome man in a 3-piece suit. The guests were having fun. The dance floor was alive. But first, a little backstory. 6 years ago, in 2018, my dad died. A heart attack. Right behind the wheel. I was 20 then. A third-year economics student at University of Colorado, Denver. My world collapsed in a single day. In his will, my father left me our house in the suburbs of Denver. A nice 2-story home. Worth about $580. Ling ling ling. The property was large. And there was a national forest nearby. Downtown Denver was only half an hour away. After his death, I had to quickly switch to online courses and find work. My mother never worked in her entire life. My father pampered her, paid all the bills, and was responsible for everything. And then suddenly I was left trying to manage the house, the utilities, the internet, the groceries, and support my mother. It was incredibly hard. Thankfully, my father had left a decent life insurance policy, $150. 000, and I had inheritance from selling some of his stocks. About $80. Ling ling ling. This gave me breathing room. But I knew it wouldn't last forever. I found work as a bookkeeper for a small accounting firm, making about $3. $200 a month. It wasn't much. But combined with careful budgeting of the inheritance money, I could cover the $2. $800 monthly mortgage payment. Utilities around $300. Property taxes. And basic living expenses for both of us. Still, I knew I needed to finish my degree to get better paying work. My mother moved into this house right after marrying my father in 1994 and lived there for almost 30 years. She made every corner her own. Did renovations. And chose the furniture. But on paper, the house is mine. My grandfather built it in 1962. Gave it to my dad in 1990. And my dad gave it to me in 2018. The deed clearly shows the transfer chain. Jake and I have been renting a small apartment for the past 6 months. Preparing for the wedding while saving money. We agreed that after the wedding, we would move into my house. There's more than enough space for 3 of us. Jake is a wonderful man. He's a software engineer making $75,000 a year, which would really help with the house expenses. And he has a wonderful family. His parents are straightforward and reasonable. And his sister Amy runs her Instagram account about lifestyle tips and recipes. And so our celebration arrived in June 2024. Laughter. Toasts. Dancing until we dropped. The food beyond all praise. Everything we dreamed of. And suddenly, Mom stood up to give a toast, holding a glass of champagne. She looked stunning at 56. She'd been getting her hair done that morning at the salon. "I want to congratulate my beloved daughter Vicky," she said, smiling for the whole room to see. "I love you so much. I'm so happy for you and Jake. You were made for each other." I listened to her, and my heart warmed, but my mother waved her hand, as if to say, "That's not all. Today I want to share something else with you. I decided that life doesn't end at 56. I met a wonderful man, Robert, and in a month we're getting married." The audience burst into applause. I smiled. "Well done, Mom." Happiness suits her. But she raised her glass again and added a phrase that made the entire room freeze. "You know," Mom continued with the same dazzling smile, "the best gift Vicky and I can give each other is to finally start living separately. We both need our own space." I thought, well, now she'll announce she's moving in with Robert. It made sense, a new husband, a new life. But my mother paused dramatically and raised an eyebrow slightly. So I decided it would be right for Vicky to give up the house in favor of me. I've put so much effort and heart into it over 30 years. And young people can easily earn enough to buy their own place. The room was so silent you could hear a pin drop. Even the DJ went quiet and turned off the music. Everyone stared at me. It felt like I'd been hit over the head with a hammer. I stood up on shaky legs. "This is nonsense," I said loudly and clearly. "The house is mine. Dad left it to me. What right do you have to my property?" Mom blushed slightly. But the smile never left her face. She turned to the guests, as if they were kindergartners. "Well, technically, yes. The building is registered to Vicky. But I've lived there for almost 30 years. I moved in right after my wedding. Did all the renovations. Chose the furniture. Vicky was born and raised there, under common law marriage principles and homestead rights. It's only fair to leave the house to me. Isn't it?" She glanced around the room. Only 2 people applauded, her sisters, Teresa and Linda. No one else. The others sat with their noses in their plates. "Never," I snapped. "Dad left the house to me. It's mine." Then Mom finally lost it. She screamed at the whole room. "Selfish. Just like her father. You'll never set foot in my house again. I'll change the locks today." And, slamming the door, she ran out of the room. The guests were shocked. My perfect wedding. Down the drain. Jake's parents immediately ran over. My mother-in-law hugged me and whispered, "Everything will be fine, darling." My father-in-law shook his head. "Your mother certainly went too far." And Amy stood there with her phone, filming everything. I held out for the rest of the evening, smiling at the guests. I wouldn't let my mother ruin the holiday completely. But inside, everything was seething. Later, Jake's father explained to me why he thought my mother chose this moment. "She waited until your wedding because she knew you'd be emotional and surrounded by family. She probably hoped the social pressure would make you agree." Classic manipulation tactic. On the morning after my wedding, June 6th, 2024, I woke up in our rented apartment with a headache. Jake was already awake, sitting next to me and stroking my back. "How are you?" "Like I've been run over by a truck," I muttered. "But I won't give up. This is my home. I'll fight to the end." "I'm with you," Jake said confidently. "We'll get through this. And honey, with my salary combined with yours, we can definitely afford to fight this legally." We quickly got ready and headed to Mom's. Or rather, my house. We pull up, and I can't believe my eyes. She really did it. The new locks glisten in the sun. The old key, naturally, doesn't fit. I knocked on the door. "Mom, open up. Let's talk normally." Her voice from behind the door was cold and alien. "Vicky, I took your things out to the garage. Take them and go." "Mom, this is absurd. Open up." Please. We have nothing to talk about. This is my home now. Go away. I was literally shaking with anger. Jake put his arm around my shoulders. What are we going to do? The apartment is paid for until the end of the month, he said calmly. We'll grab our things. Go. And then we'll sort it out. There wasn't much in the garage. The rented apartment already had the basics, a couple of boxes of old things. Photo albums. Books. We threw everything in the car and drove away. Jake's mother called that evening. How are you holding up? She really did change the locks. She won't even let me talk. Isai had. Move in with us. We have plenty of space, she said firmly. I found you a good lawyer. Andrew Peterson. He specializes in real estate and housing disputes. He'll help you defend your rights. I almost burst into tears with gratitude. It's so wonderful that at least my husband's family is supportive. A few weeks later, we moved in with Jake's parents. It was awkward. Of course. Living with them. But they turned out to be surprisingly warm people. My mother-in-law prepared a guest room. My father-in-law simply said, "Stay as long as you need." The worst part was that the honeymoon had to be canceled. Miami and the Florida beaches gave way to lawyers and court papers 3 weeks after the wedding. Jake and I were supposed to be lounging on the beach with cocktails. But instead I found myself sitting in a law office on July 8th. 2024. A $580. 000 house was certainly more important than a vacation. But it left a nasty taste in my mouth. Andrew Peterson was a gray-haired man of about 60. Clearly a professional in his field. This is more complex than a simple trespassing case, he said after examining the papers. Your mother lived there for 30 years and contributed to home improvements in Colorado. She might try to claim adverse possession or argue for some form of equitable interest. However, he continued, the deed is clear. The house legally belongs to you. Your father's will is unambiguous. We have a strong case. But we need to be prepared for her arguments. Let's start with a formal notice to quit. That's a legal demand for her to vacate. We'll give her 30 days as required by Colorado law. He drew up the document, and I served it to the house myself via certified mail and sheriff's service on July 15th. 2024. I was sickened to the point of nausea. But there was no other way out. A few days later, Peterson called. Your mother has hired a lawyer. Stephen Williams. I know him. He's already contacted me. They're planning to fight this. My heart sank. This is serious. Mom is ready to sue for my house. What's their strategy? I asked. Williams is arguing that your mother has equitable interest in the property due to her 30 years of residence and improvements. He's also claiming she has homestead rights as a long-term resident. It's a weak case legally, but it could drag out the process. I spent the next week gathering evidence with Peterson's help. Proving my case was clearer than I expected. But we had to address her potential claims. For 6 years after my dad's death, all the bills were paid with my Chase account, utilities, internet, property taxes, insurance, every penny. My mother didn't contribute a single dollar after 2018. The property deed showed the clear chain. My grandfather built the house in 1962, transferred it to my father in 1990, who transferred it to me in 2018. Mom was never on any deed. Her homestead claim is weak, Peterson explained. Homestead rights typically apply to married couples or family members with ownership interest. She's neither married to the owner nor listed on any property documents. 2 weeks later, Williams made their first move. Your mother wants to claim 50% ownership based on her contributions over 30 years and common law marriage principles with the property. Peterson informed me on August 5th. No way. I snapped. She was married to my father, not married to the house. And she hasn't contributed anything since he died. I thought you'd say that. Peterson chuckled. I've already prepared our response. A month later, Williams played what he thought was his trump card. My client recently got married. Her new husband has moved into the house. They're willing to sell the property and split the proceeds 50-50 with Victoria. I nearly fell off my chair. Now Mom wants to sell my house and take half the money, $290. Null for herself. Over my dead body. I muttered through clenched teeth. The house is mine. I'm not selling it. The stress was overwhelming. I should have been enjoying newlywed life. But instead I was in legal battles with my own mother. The next morning, August 20th, my phone was buzzing with Facebook notifications. My mom had posted, "My own daughter is kicking me out of the house where I've lived for 30 years. It's so unfair. I raised her here. Made it a home. Now she's throwing me out on the street with no regard for everything I've done. Friends. Help her see reason." But when I opened the comments, I was stunned. "Linda, are you serious?" her old friend wrote. "The house legally belongs to Vicky. You can't just take someone's inheritance. I can't believe you made this public drama at your own daughter's wedding." Someone else added. Then I saw Amy's comment. She had posted the wedding video, the entire toast from beginning to end, with the caption, "This is what really happened at Jake and Vicky's wedding. Judge for yourself who's being unreasonable here." After that, Mom was absolutely trashed in the comments. People wrote about how inappropriate it was to try to claim her daughter's inheritance and ruin her wedding celebration. The video went viral on Facebook by evening. Mom had deleted her page. I felt a little sorry for her. Online backlash is harsh. But she had started the public campaign. Meanwhile, the 30-day notice period was expiring on August 15th. 2024. Jake and I drove past the house several times to check if Mom was planning to move out. What we saw shocked us. Mom and Robert were repainting the exterior. My white house had become some garish yellow color. I hated. But worst of all, Robert had demolished the garage my dad built with his own hands when I was little. "They're destroying my property." I screamed at Peterson over the phone on August 18th. "Is this even allowed?" "Absolutely not." He replied firmly. "This is intentional destruction of property. In Colorado. This could be criminal mischief. Take photos immediately. Call an appraiser. And file a police report." Appraisers arrived and documented damages totaling $8. 500 garage démolition. $6. Ling ling ling. Unauthorized exterior painting on dollars. Babe. And damaged landscaping $700. That same day, I filed a police report. When the notice period expired and my mother still hadn't vacated, Peterson filed our lawsuit on August 20th. 2024. The case moved through Douglas County District Court. On October 15th. 2024. The judge ruled in our favor, stating, while the defendant has resided in the property for an extended period, the legal ownership is clear and unambiguous. The plaintiff holds valid title through inheritance. The defendant has no legal claim to ownership or occupancy rights. Defendant must vacate within 30 days. Mom was given until November 15th, 2024 to leave. When that deadline passed and she still refused to move, we had to involve the sheriff's department. On November 20th, Peterson, Jake, Amy, and I went to the house with the sheriff's eviction team. Amy asked to film for her Instagram, and I reluctantly agreed. "Let there be a record," Jake said. As expected, Mom and Robert didn't answer the door initially. When the sheriff's deputies announced themselves, Mom finally opened up. She looked terrible, disheveled, and tearful. "Vicky, please don't do this," she sobbed. "Let's work something out. You had 4 months to work something out." I replied firmly. "The court gave you every chance." I started putting Mom's belongings in boxes while Jake helped carry them outside. Amy live-streamed the whole thing. "This is incredible. Guys," Amy narrated. "Thousands are watching. The legal system working exactly as it should." Mom grabbed the doorframe. "I'm not leaving my home." Then she clutched her chest dramatically. "My heart. You're killing me. Vicky." I called 911 anyway. The EMTs arrived. Checked her vitals. Slightly elevated blood pressure, but normal range. Classic stress response. One EMT whispered to me, "We see this a lot in eviction situations." Amy kept filming and commented, "This is better than any reality show." But it's real-life consequences of trying to steal someone's inheritance. Finally, Mom and Robert called a moving company. Before leaving, my mother stopped in front of me. "You'll regret this. Victoria, I curse you. You are no longer my daughter. You are dead to me." Those words stung more than I expected. When they left on November 20th, 2024, my husband hugged me. "Are you okay? I'll be fine." He sighed. "Should we pursue the property damage claim?" Jake asked. "No." I shook my head. "Let's just move on with our lives. The house is ours now." That evening, we officially moved into my house. It felt strange being there without my mother after so many years. But the house was finally mine again. I blocked her number, removed her from social media, and set up email filters. After everything she'd done, I was done. 2 weeks later, my mother's sister Teresa called. "Vicky, your mother is struggling to pay rent. Don't you feel any guilt, Aunt Teresa?" I replied calmly, "Mom should have thought about housing before trying to steal my house. She's 56 and able-bodied. She can work." I hung up and blocked that number too. 2 years passed, 2025 and 2026. Jake and I renovated the house completely. We repainted every room, updated all the plumbing, and remodeled the kitchen with white cabinets and quartz countertops. Jake built a new garage, bigger than before. We planted vegetable gardens where Mom's flower beds used to be. In March 2026, I found out I was pregnant. Jake and I had been trying for 6 months. When 2 pink lines appeared on the test, I burst into happy tears. Jake spun me around our renovated kitchen. "We're going to be parents." We immediately called his parents, who were overjoyed. That evening, they came over with champagne for Jake and sparkling cider for me. "This baby is so lucky to grow up in such a beautiful home," my mother-in-law said, admiring our renovations. "You two have really transformed this place." In June 2026, when I was 3 months pregnant, something unexpected happened. I found an email from a new Gmail account. "My dear Vicky, I heard through mutual friends that you and Jake are expecting. Congratulations, I think it's time we put the past behind us. I'll be a grandmother, that means everything to me." The email continued, "I made mistakes, but emotions were high. Now that you'll be a mother, you'll understand, family is everything. I want to help raise the baby. I have so much experience and love to give. Let's start fresh. I broke up with Robert, it didn't work out. Don't deprive me of my grandchild." I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me wondered if she'd really changed. But then I remembered everything. The wedding scandal, trying to steal my inheritance, the court battles, the destroyed garage, her final curse, telling me I was dead to her. Jake found me at the computer. "What's wrong?" I showed him the email. His jaw tightened as he read. "What do you think I asked?" "Honey, I'll support whatever you decide. But remember what she put us through. Do you think a baby will really change her? She didn't even apologize specifically, just said emotions were high. That's not taking responsibility. And notice," Jake continued. "She mentioned Robert casually. I bet that marriage failed. So now she's alone and wants back in." The more I thought about it, the more I realized Mom hadn't actually changed. She was using my pregnancy as manipulation. Did I want my child growing up around someone so toxic? Someone who might badmouth me and Jake? Or even call Child Protective Services if she didn't like our parenting? No. She made her choice in November 2024, when she said I was dead to her. I deleted the email, blocked the address, and set up automatic filters. Over the following months, she tried reaching out a few more times, cards I threw away, calls from unknown numbers I didn't answer. Amy told me Mom even messaged her on Instagram. Amy blocked her immediately. I'm now 7 months pregnant, January 2027. Jake and I have finished the nursery in soft sage green. Sometimes I wonder if I'll regret not giving Mom another chance. But when I remember everything she did, my doubt disappear. I made the right choice. My child will grow up in a loving, peaceful home, surrounded by people who truly care, not manipulators. Jake's parents have become wonderful grandparents to be. My mother-in-law has knitted enough baby clothes for twins, and my father-in-law crafted a beautiful wooden rocking horse. Our baby will have real grandparents' love, genuine, healthy, and unconditional. In March 2027, our son Alex was born. When they placed him in my arms, all the struggles felt worth it. Jake held us both, tears in his eyes. "Thank you for giving me everything," he whispered. The house filled with new sounds, gentle cries, and peaceful silence that happiness brings. My in-laws visited daily, helping with everything. They became the family support system we needed. Sometimes, holding Alex, I still think about my mother. I wish things could have been different, but I know I chose correctly. My son will grow up in a home built on love and trust, not manipulation and chaos, and that's the greatest gift I could give him. Story 3. After we hadn't spoken for years, my golden brother sought part of my company. My mother supported him by stating that he is 10 times superior to me. I thus gave them a lesson that they will carry with them for the rest of their lives. After all that has transpired over the last several months, I feel compelled to write this account, even though I never imagined doing so. Male, a 5-year-old software engineer, started a profitable cybersecurity consulting business from the bottom up. Today, my firm makes over $12 million a year and has 47 employees. Not bad for someone who began learning to code 15 years ago in his parents' basement. However, my accomplishment isn't the main focus of this article. When my toxic family saw that I had really succeeded, they attempted to ruin everything I had fought so hard to achieve. Let me give you some background first. Jake, my younger brother, is 32 years old. As a youngster, Jake was seen by our parents, especially our mothers, as the ideal child who could do no wrong. Jake was the gregarious, athletic kid who played varsity football and had ladies calling the home all the time, while I was the quiet, industrious boy who spent his time studying programming languages and creating computers. Our parents were quite clear about who they liked most, especially Mom. They purchased a brand new Mustang for Jake when he required a vehicle for his 16th birthday. They gave me the keys to our ancient Honda Civic, which was 8 years old and had 150,000 miles on it. When I turned 16 6 months later, they would give Jake petrol money and encourage him to enjoy himself when he wanted to attend parties. I had to utilize the money I earned from my part-time work at the neighborhood computer repair shop to pay for computer equipment or programming camps. Mom would just grin and remark that Jake needed more help since he's more sociable. But the favoritism was so obvious that even members of the extended family would comment on it. When Mom's partiality was really clear, I could sometimes see Dad feeling uncomfortable, but he generally kept silent during these discussions. Thanks to his charisma and athletic prowess, Jake breezed through high school and was accepted on a partial football scholarship to a respectable state university. I was awarded a full academic scholarship at MIT. In the meanwhile, you would think that our parents would have been pleased. But instead, Mom worried about Jake's feelings about his sibling attending a better school. In fact, she advised me to think about remaining nearer home so Jake wouldn't feel overshadowed. I think I realized during that chat that no matter what I did, I would never be the favored son. It felt liberated to go to college. For the first time in my life, I wasn't negatively compared to my brother but rather appreciated for my technical proficiency and intellect. I excelled at MIT, earning a degree in computer science and a position at a prestigious software business in Boston right after I graduated. Jake, on the other hand, lost his scholarship, blew up his knee in his junior year. and barely made it out, with a business degree that he never really utilized. Mom would spend hours discussing Jake's potential and how he was figuring things out whenever I returned home for the holidays. But she seldom ever inquired about my profession. When I was 28, that was the last straw. I just became engaged to Sarah, a talented data scientist I met at work. And I had plans to launch my own business. Mom didn't offer congrats or inquire about my intentions when I told the family about this. The question was whether, given Jake's business degree, I had thought about making him a partner. I graciously rejected, emphasizing that, particularly in the crucial early phases, I required someone with technical skill rather than basic commercial understanding. At the time, Jake dismissed it with a chuckle, claiming he had no interest in nerdy things. However, I could tell Mom's eyes were disappointed. When Mom insisted that we should encourage each other's success as brothers, that Christmas meal descended into chaos. She accused me of being selfish and envious of Jake's social abilities when I eventually lost my temper and pointed out that he had never once acknowledged my accomplishments or even showed interest in what I did for a living. Throughout the whole dispute, Jake smirked and kept throwing gasoline to the fire by saying things like, "Mom, you know how he's always been with money." Alternatively, other individuals just don't care about their families. My last family get-together was the one. After that, I stopped interacting with others, only answering direct enquiries and chatting in family groups. And I stopped taking vacations. I could see Dad wanted to close the distance when he called to check in, but he would never challenge Mom's favoritism. When I started Secure Flow Solutions 2 years later, Sarah and I relocated to Austin. The company expanded quickly. It seems that there is a significant need for cybersecurity consulting, particularly from businesses who have experienced a hack and want assistance in repairing their systems and averting such incidents in the future. I had 15 staff in 3 years. I was earning 8 figures a year in only 5 years. I took care to avoid sharing my accomplishment on social media. And in our few chats, I never brought up money. 3 years ago, Dad died after a heart attack. That was heartbreaking. But it also meant there was even less motivation to stay in touch with Jake and Mom. It was an uncomfortable funeral. Jake had changed in the almost 4 years since I last saw him in person. The arrogant athlete I recalled was no more. He had a patchy beard, a soft around-the-middle appearance, and he was often saying how fortunate I was to run such a profitable firm, conveniently ignoring the fact that she hadn't talked to me in years. Mom spent the whole reception expressing her pride in both of her boys. I anticipated that we would resume our little contact pattern after the burial. I was mistaken. My mother unexpectedly phoned me around 6 months later. This was not like the norm. She usually only phoned on important holidays or on my birthday. And even then, the calls were halting and short. "I've been looking through your father's papers." "Honey," she said. "Additionally, I believe you should be aware of what I discovered." She said that her father had written in a notebook about his aspirations for his son's future. She said he had written explicitly that he hoped Jake and I would someday collaborate, bringing together Jake's business sense and my technological expertise. According to her, Dad had always envisioned his sons working together to construct something. Despite my skepticism, I felt bad about our tense relationship and pondered if Dad had really hoped that we would work things out. I promised Mom that I would give it some thought. But I made new commitments. For the first time in years, Jake gave me a straight call 2 weeks later. He used a phrase of affection that he had never used when we were children. "Hey, brother." I learned about Dad's notebook from Mom. After learning about Dad's wishes, Jake, who had been working in sales since college but had never found his calling, said, "I've been thinking a lot about what he wanted for us. Maybe we were meant to work together. Maybe he could help take my business to the next level." I felt compelled to at least listen to him. Even though my gut told me that this was a bad idea, we planned to meet for lunch the following week when he would be in Austin visiting friends, which should have been my first warning sign. Jake didn't come alone, though. He brought his girlfriend, Melissa, who looked like she was straight out of a fashion magazine. This is Melissa, Jake began proudly. And she's been helping me research your company and develop some ideas for how we could work together. She was probably in her mid-20s, with long blonde hair, flawless makeup, and the type of curves that made every male in the restaurant take a second look. Jake told me so much about you. David, I'm so impressed by what you've built. I have a background in marketing and business development, so I understand how challenging it must have been to grow a technical services company. Melissa gave me a perfectly white smile and held out her manicured hand. I was suspicious right away, because Jake had dated cheerleaders and party girls in high school and college. Not exactly the kind to research cybersecurity companies. With his business degree and people skills, Jake said he could help me scale the company nationally, possibly even internationally. Think about it, David, he said, leaning forward earnestly. As he presented his vision for our partnership over lunch, he wanted to join as COO, handling all business development, client relationships, and company expansion. Melissa nodded enthusiastically. Jake has such natural charisma. I bet your clients would love working with him. You're brilliant at the technical stuff, but you've always been more comfortable behind a computer than in a boardroom. I could handle all the client-facing work, the networking, the big picture strategy, and just think of how much more you could concentrate on innovation if you weren't burdened with all the business-related details. I listened courteously, but I didn't say anything. Jake appeared to take my quiet as interest because by the conclusion of lunch, he was discussing precise percentages. After all, Dad always said we were equals. And you'll need someone with real business experience if you want to compete with the big consulting firms. I almost choked on my coffee when he said, I thought a 50-over-50 partnership would be fair. Jake, I said carefully, I think you're getting a little ahead of yourself. She had never worked a day in cybersecurity and hadn't been involved in starting the company from nothing. We're just excited about the possibilities. Why don't we all get together again soon? Maybe I could see your office. I'd love to understand more about what you do. His face darkened a little, but Melissa immediately jumped in with a brilliant smile. A certain something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. After they left, I sat in my car for 10 minutes trying to process what had happened. Jake had gone from hardly talking to me for years to demanding half of my company based on some alleged journal entry from Dad that I had never seen. There was an undertone in her voice that suggested she wanted to understand more than just my business. There was something strange about this Melissa woman. So I did what I do best, which is research. And that night, I began looking into Jake's recent past. I discovered through social media stalking that he had been out of work for the last 8 months, after being fired from a car dealership for poor performance. As I dug deeper, I discovered that Melissa's background in marketing and business development was primarily focused on working for multi-level marketing schemes and consulting for small businesses that had all failed within a year of hiring her. His LinkedIn profile revealed a pattern of short-term jobs, mostly in sales, with gaps between positions getting longer over time. Melissa's Instagram profile showed the lifestyle of someone with money, including expensive clothes, fancy restaurants, and exotic vacations. But what was most telling was that, despite only having been dating for 4 months, Melissa's recent posts were all set up to make it appear as though they had been together for much longer. She even shared old pictures of herself with other men. But she cropped them out and wrote captions about my love that gave the impression that she and Jake had a lengthy history together. This was beginning to smell like a scam. So I phoned my lawyer, Mike Chen, who had originally assisted me in establishing the business, described the issue, and asked him to check my corporate paperwork to ensure Jake had no rightful claim to ownership. Mike assured me, there's no way Jake has any legal claim to your company unless you signed something or your father had some kind of ownership stake that I'm not aware of. But I would be cautious about any new contracts or agreements. And perhaps we should consider tightening up your corporate structure. In the meantime, Jake began calling me every few days, becoming increasingly insistent about continuing our partnership. The breakthrough came 2 weeks later when Melissa texted me directly, saying, Hey David, I was wondering if you wanted to get coffee sometime. Just the two of us. I feel like we didn't really get to connect during lunch, and I have some ideas that might interest you. He would send me articles about brother business teams that were successful, and would keep bringing up Dad's alleged wishes. We met in a hip coffee shop in downtown Austin. And Melissa was obviously dressed to impress a low-cut shirt, short skirt, and heels that made her legs seem to go on forever. The winky emoji made her intentions quite obvious. So I decided to go along with it and discover what she was truly after. Jake told me so much about your relationship growing up, she added, moving closer. And he feels terrible that you two grew apart. She spent the first 20 minutes asking specific questions about my company, my customers, my income, and my goals for development. He really admires you. Since Jake had treated me like a bothersome afterthought during our whole upbringing. You know, this was new to me. Since you two had lunch, he has been studying cybersecurity nonstop, she added. And he is thrilled about the prospect of collaborating. I believe he views it as an opportunity to finally have the type of connection he's always desired with you. I made non-committal responses while she kept probing for more information about my business operations, my biggest clients, my profit margins. It was clear she was fishing for intelligence, not trying to build a relationship. Then she made her move. David, can I be honest with you? Maybe Jake is undervaluing himself, she replied, extending her hand across the table to clasp my hand. Her hand lingered on mine, and she gave me a look that was definitely not about business development. I think you've built something amazing, but there's so much untapped potential. Someone with the right connections could help you expand in ways you've never imagined. She purred. Perhaps we should get together sometime when we can really talk. She was attempting to woo me, probably to acquire inside knowledge to aid Jake in whatever scam they were doing. So I acted stupid and smiled. That's intriguing. Melissa, I believe you and I could do amazing things together without Jake around. For the next hour, she fed me a line about government contracts she could help me land, international expansion opportunities, and investors she supposedly knew. None of it was specific enough to be true, but it was all meant to give me the impression that she was the key to growing my business. What kind of connections are you thinking about? She continued using lame and frustrating reasons to touch my arm, lean in close, or make suggestive remarks about how we might explore possibilities together while she was talking. When we said our goodbyes, she gave me an overly lengthy embrace and said, I hope we can do this again soon. I believe we may benefit much from one another. I had a feeling I would need proof of whatever they were planning. So that night, I installed a covert camera system in my home office and began recording every conversation I had with Jake or Melissa. Sure enough, Jake called the following day, more aggressive than ever. I've been patient, but I need to know where we stand, he said. After a pause, Melissa said, well, Mom has it, and she's not comfortable sharing it right now. It's too emotional for her. But she told you what it said. Melissa believes you're interested in moving forward, and I don't want to waste any more time. I need to know if you're serious about honoring Dad's wishes. What exactly did Dad write in this journal? I asked. I'd like to see it before making any major decisions. Jake's tone changed to barely controlled anger. I can't make a business decision based on secondhand information about a document I've never seen. Are you calling Mom a liar? Are you saying she's making this up? I'm saying I'd like to see evidence before giving away half of the company I built from scratch. Giving away, he exploded. I hung up on him. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised because you've always been selfish when it comes to family. This isn't giving anything away. It's honoring our father's memory and finally working together like a real family. 2 days later, Mom called and sobbed. David. Honey. Jake is so hurt. I'm not fighting with anyone. Mom. I just want to see this journal entry before I make any business decisions. I can't show it to you right now. It's too painful. He just wants to be close to his brother. Why are you being so stubborn about this? Your father would be devastated to see you two fighting. If your father truly wanted us to work together, why didn't he ever mention it to me when he was alive? I asked. Mom's tears deepening. But I assure you, David, your father wanted his boys to work together. He was so proud of both of you. This was rich, considering Dad had hardly known what I did for a living and had never once visited my office or inquired about my business. It wasn't about Dad's wishes or bringing the family together. It was about Mom wanting me to take care of her golden child now that Jake had shown himself incapable of providing for himself. He didn't want to put any pressure on you because he knew you needed to find your own way first. But now that you're successful, it's time to help your brother. That weekend, Melissa texted me again, suggesting we go out for drinks. I agreed, curious to see how far she would push things. And she arrived at the fancy bar, wearing a dress that was barely legal, making sure to sit close enough that her leg pressed against mine. I told Mom I needed time to think about it and hung up, as she leaned in close, her lips almost touching my ear. She said, David, I'm going to be direct with you. With her hand on my thigh. After 2 drinks, I think you and I have chemistry. Real chemistry. And I think we could help each other in ways that go beyond business. Jake doesn't need to know about our private consultations. She smiled seductively. That's interesting. Melissa, what kind of information are you thinking about? I almost laughed at how obvious she was being. But instead I decided to test something. I could give you information that would help you make the right decisions about the partnership. And you could help me understand how a really successful man operates. However, if we had our own arrangement, I could make sure you stay ahead of whatever he's planning. Now we were moving forward. What lawyers I probably shouldn't say, she said coyly, running a finger down my arm. I know Jake has been discussing his rights to the company with some lawyers, and he seems to believe he might have stronger legal grounds than you realize. I left her at the bar, looking frustrated. But maybe if we went somewhere more private, I could tell you more. The following morning, I hired a private investigator, Tom Rodriguez, who specialized in financial fraud cases, and gave him all the information I had on Jake and Melissa, asking him to look further. I excused myself by saying that I had an early morning meeting. Even worse than I had anticipated. Tom learned that Melissa's true name was Miranda Walsh, and that she had a history of selecting wealthy targets, researching their family dynamics, and then posing as someone who could assist in manipulating family relationships for financial gain. Melissa had a history of targeting successful men in various scams. The most damning evidence Tom discovered was text messages between Jake and Melissa. Jake, on the other hand, it had been contacting lawyers, but not regarding valid ownership claims, in an attempt to find lawyers who would assist him in bringing nuisance lawsuits against my business, in the hopes of pressuring me into a settlement rather than enduring drawn-out legal disputes. They had been plotting this fraud for months. Ever since Jake had learnt via common connections how popular my firm had grown, and he had contacts in the mobile phone sector who could retrieve erased texts for legal inquiries. Revealing their whole scheme, the journal story was entirely made up. But Melissa had studied my business, my personal life, and my family dynamics, and they had coached each other on how to approach me. Melissa being the supportive girlfriend who was also ready to step in if seduction proved more effective than family pressure. The texts actually showed them laughing about how easily they could use my father's memory to manipulate me. And they had a multi-pronged plan. Melissa would gather information through seduction. Jake would use family guilt to put pressure on me. And if I agreed to any sort of partnership, they would use that foothold to gradually take over more of the business. The most infuriating part was a message from Jake to Melissa that stated, David's always been a pushover when it comes to family. If I didn't agree, Jake would sue me for harassment and discrimination, saying I was denying him opportunities because of family bias, in an attempt to force a settlement that would give him money, even without ownership. He's been conditioned by his mother to feel bad about everything. I spent the next 2 weeks carefully preparing my response because reading those messages made my blood boil. They believed I was some sort of guilty. weak pushover who they could manipulate with family pressure and fake tears. They were going to realize how wrong they were. I did something that would have been unimaginable a month ago. First, by having Mike Chen draft strict cease and desist letters to Jake and Melissa, clearly prohibiting them from claiming any ownership in my business and warning them that any attempt to meddle in my business dealings would be met with legal action. I made the decision to go nuclear on my own family. And I put together all the information Tom had gathered: text messages, background checks, bank documents demonstrating Melissa's history of scams and Jake's unemployment, into a thorough dossier. We should be working together. Why don't you and Melissa come to my office tomorrow afternoon? I'll show you around. We can discuss terms and maybe we can make this partnership official. I called Jake on a Thursday night and informed him that I had made my decision regarding the partnership. Jake was thrilled. David, you won't regret this. We're going to create something amazing together. This is what Dad would have wanted. I planned the meeting for Friday at 300 p.m., knowing that the majority of my staff would still be in the office to see what transpired. Jake and Melissa showed up Friday afternoon, dressed as if they were already executives of my business. Melissa was wearing a power dress that somehow managed to reveal enough cleavage to be unsuitable for a business meeting. And Jake was wearing an expensive suit that he probably couldn't afford. I invited them into my office, where I had set up a conference table with water bottles, legal pads, and folders, all the necessary items for a serious business meeting. I said, I want to make sure we're all on the same page about what we're discussing here, before we get started. Jake nodded enthusiastically. Undoubtedly. I said, I think we start with a 50/50 partnership as we discussed, and then we can talk about expansion plans, new markets, and maybe bringing Melissa on as our marketing director. Melissa nodded and smiled. I have a lot of ideas for growing the business. I opened one of the folders on the table and said, I think we could double your revenue within the first year. That sounds ambitious. But before we move forward, I need to address a few concerns. I slid a copy of the private investigator's report, a background check I had completed, as part of my due diligence, across the table to Jake. The first page, which revealed Melissa's true identity and a synopsis of her fraud past, made Jake's face go white. What the hell is this? It's the truth about your girlfriend and your little scheme to scam me. I responded coolly in response to his demand. Did you really think I wouldn't look into it before losing half of my business? Melissa made an effort to remain calm. I opened another folder and took out copies of their text messages. And I interrupted. David, I don't know what you think you found, but I know your real name is Miranda Walsh. I know you've been involved in at least 4 similar scams targeting wealthy men. And I know you've been coaching Jake on how to manipulate me using our family relationships. Jake's face had become scarlet. You had our phones hacked. That's against the law. No. Jake. It's not. I also know that Dad has never written anything about wanting us to collaborate, since this whole scenario is something you two made up. The best part is that this was acquired through a legitimate legal investigation. I opened a third folder and took out copies of his correspondence with different lawyers. I am aware that you have been looking for lawyers to assist you in bringing nuisance lawsuits against my business. And I am aware that your goal was to either coerce me into giving you ownership or compel me to settle through pointless legal action. Melissa and Jake both looked like trapped animals by this point. And Jake got up suddenly. You know what? David, I don't need your charity. I was trying to help you out of family loyalty. But clearly you don't give a damn about family. Sit down. Jake, I said firmly. We're not done. He hesitated for a moment about my tone. I've taken certain safeguards because, you see, I do care about my family and I care about protecting my company and myself from family members who believe they can con me. I opened the last folder and took out copies of the stop and desist letters Mike had sent. Melissa found her voice. You can't prove we did anything illegal. Maybe not criminal fraud. I agreed. These are legal notices formally warning both of you to stop making any claims about ownership in my company and to stop any attempts to interfere with my business. If you violate these terms, I will sue you for harassment, attempted fraud, and business interference. However, I can demonstrate that you have been using a false identity and have a history of similar scams, as well as that you have attempted extortion, harassment, and conspiracy to interfere with my business relationships. I leaned back in my chair and said, "Here's what's going to happen. You both are going to sign acknowledgments that you have no claim to any ownership in my company." Jake's mouth dropped. "I'm not telling Mom anything. She believes in us working together." "Oh. But you are," I repeated, grinning for the first time since they had arrived. "You're going to agree to have no further contact with me, my employees, or my business partners." I pulled out my phone and showed them the draft email I prepared, with about 30 family members in the recipient list. "Because if you don't, I'm going to send copies of this entire investigation to every member of our extended family, along with a detailed explanation of how you tried to defraud your own brother using Dad's memory." Melissa looked like she was going to get sick. "You wouldn't actually try me," I said flatly. "I built this company from nothing while dealing with a family that never supported me. I'm also going to post it on social media and tag everyone we went to high school with, because I think they'd be very interested in learning what Jake Morrison has been up to lately." "You chose the wrong person." Jake was looking at the email on my phone, presumably adding up the number of people who would see it and how embarrassing it would be. "What do you want?" he said softly. "I want you to sign these agreements." I stood up and walked around the table to face them directly. "And I want you both to understand that if you ever try anything like this again, if you ever mention my name to a lawyer, if you ever claim any connection to my business, if you ever come anywhere near my employees or my office, I will use every resource I have to ruin your lives. And I will sue you into bankruptcy. Leave my office and never get in touch with me again unless someone is dying. I want you to tell Mom that you lied about." There was a long pause before Jake reached for the pen. "This is really up, David," he muttered as he signed the papers. "Everyone you know knows exactly what kind of people you are. And I will use every contact I have in the business world to make sure neither of you can ever find decent employment again." "No, Jake," I said. "What's going on is that you're attempting to steal from your own brother and are doing it by exploiting the memories of your deceased father. Bringing a scammer into our family to assist you in committing fraud is what's up. The idea that you might control me in the same manner that my mother did when we were children is what's up. Jake, I want you to call Mom right now and tell her the truth." "I'm not." "You're going to call her. Put it on speaker and explain that you made up the journal story because you wanted money from me." Melissa signed next, her hand trembling a little. "If you don't, that email is sent to the family in an hour." With a defeated slouch, Jake took out his phone and called his mother. "Hello, Mom," he began when she answered. "I'm here with David. And I need to tell you something." "Oh, that's great. Are you guys completing the collaboration?" Jake's eyes were filled with hate as he gazed at me. "No, Mother. A collaboration is not going to exist. I must admit that the tale I told you regarding Dad's diary was all made up." A lengthy pause ensued. "What are you saying after all? Dad never expressed a desire for us to collaborate. I believed I might persuade David to give me a share of his business. So I made it up. Over the phone." I could hear Mom take a quick inhale. "What are you saying?" "Jake, I'm stating that since I'm broke and believed that this would solve my issues, I lied to both you and David. I apologize. Mom, I understand that this is disappointing." Before Mom spoke again, there was a pause of over 30 seconds. Her voice was hardly audible. "Morrison. Jacob. How did you accomplish this? How could you make such a false statement regarding your father's memory?" Jake seemed really embarrassed for the first time since I'd met him. "I apologize. Mom, you thought you could steal from your brother and drag me into it," she said, her voice becoming louder. And I thought, "Desperate. Mom, it wasn't like that. You believed you could use me to coerce him into giving you something you didn't deserve," she said. "It was exactly like that. Migot." "Jake, what has happened to you?" Jake asked me as he glanced at me once again. perhaps expecting me to step in. But I just gave him an expressionless gaze. Mom went on to say, "I'm disappointed in both of us. Your attempt to deceive your brother and your lying have disappointed me. I'm also disappointed in myself for blindly believing you. Are you there?" "David, Mom. I'm here. I'm very sorry. Honey, I ought to have inquired further. I ought to have known. I didn't pause to consider if this made sense, since I was so desperate for you two to be together. Only a little portion of my anger against her began to lessen. We'll discuss later." "Mom! I need Jake and his girlfriend out of my office right now." "Does Jake have a girlfriend?" Mom inquired. Jake gave me a stern look. But I was done keeping him safe. She is an expert at defrauding wealthy guys by playing on their familial ties. Her true name is Miranda Walsh. For months, she and Jake had been preparing this fraud. The phone rang in deafening quiet. At last. Mom's voice was as icy as ice. "Jake? You're going home shortly. We will be talking for a very long time." Jake and Melissa packed their belongings and made their way to the door when he hung up. Jake stopped at the doorway. I stared at him for a long time, reflecting on everything that we had experienced, the years of favoritism, the incessant comparisons, the way he had treated me as a child, and now this ultimate betrayal. "David, I know you hate me right now, but we're still brothers." "No, Jake," I eventually replied. "You're just someone I used to know who happens to share some DNA." He flinched like I'd hit him. But he didn't argue. After they left, I sat in my office for a while, processing everything that had happened. Brothers don't try to steal from each other. Brothers don't lie about their dead father to commit fraud. When my assistant knocked on the door to see how I was doing, she said, "I'm proud of you for standing up to them." Apparently, the tension had been evident even through the glass walls. So I called Sarah to explain the situation. Sarah had been suspicious from the beginning and had heard about Jake's initial approach. I know that couldn't have been easy. It wasn't easy. But it was important. I had, for the first time in my life, defended what I had worked so hard to establish and refused to be influenced by family guilt. Over the course of the next several weeks, I learned from Mom that Jake had temporarily returned to live with her while he sought employment. Melissa Miranda apparently vanished right after our altercation, leaving Jake to deal with the fallout on his own. A few days later, Mom called me to apologize once more and to ask if I could forgive Jake. I told her that Jake is 32 years old and not some naive child who made a mistake. "But he's your brother." "No. Mom, he's your son. And you can have whatever relationship you want with him. But he's no longer my brother. Brothers don't try to destroy each other." I wasn't entirely heartless. But he spent months planning to defraud me, brought a career criminal into our family, and tried to use Dad's memory to steal from me. I had a friend who owns a small marketing company interview Jake after I learned that he was actually looking for work and had enrolled in a community college program to gain some new skills. Jake was hired for an entry-level job that paid only a tenth of what he had been hoping to steal from me. But it was honest work. As for Mom and me, we're slowly rebuilding our relationship, and she's made a real effort to understand why the favoritism hurts so much. And she's admitted that she contributed to Jake's entitlement issues. I never told Jake that I'd helped him get the interview because I thought he could do it on his own if he was truly trying to change his life. She has expressed her pride in my accomplishments